Well, it could hardly be bigger, could it? I mean, he's got to rebuild the football club. He's got to manage the change in the squad. He's got to impose a style of play. He's got to deal with an almighty soap opera. And on top of all of that, he's got to compete with, probably the two best managers in world football at the moment. So it could hardly be bigger. But if his teams are as hard to get through as he was in that press conference, at least the defending will improve.
Yeah, in terms of risks, how big a risk is this for Ten Hag, do you think? Or is it a risk for the club? Because, we were talking to Darren just a few moments ago, Paul Scholes has said that Jesse Lingard says the dressing room is a disaster. Is this a risk for Ten Hag?
It is a risk. I mean, his managerial stock could not be higher at the moment. And, Old Trafford's a place where in recent years talent has gone to die, whether that's been talented footballers or talented coaches. I guess the thing in Ten Hag's favour is, I was at the game yesterday. You're watching a team that it feels like they're at rock bottom. It feels like they couldn't get any worse. So in some ways, he starts with that clean slate. In some ways, the guy that succeeds as successful manager has also got a challenge. It's a challenge succeeding Alex Ferguson. He comes in, I think, with expectations lower. There'll be an outflux of players in the summer. And it couldn't get worse on the pitch, and it couldn't get worse off the pitch in terms of the soap opera. So in some ways, yes, he's putting his reputation on the line where Jose Mourinho did, where David Moyes did, where Louis van Gaal did, but it couldn't get much worse. And if he can do the coaching job he's capable of, we will see an improvement, and we will start to at least see that impact that might buy him time to phase in what he's going to, that massive job we talked about earlier, which is going to take several years.
Yeah, Johnny won't just be the two biggest managers in the country, because of course they've got to get back into the top four. To do that, obviously, he's going to need to recalibrate that side. But he says he's not going to compromise his style. He's not going to change his style to do that. What do you make of that, and what do you read into it?
Yeah, I think that's why he's got the job done. And I mean, my information is that in the interviews, he really impressed the board. He impressed John Murtagh, the football director, and Darren Fletcher, the technical director, because he talked about football, he talked about principles, he talked about ideas, and he spoke the way that a Pep Guardiola might speak, with that obsession about that stuff and not the signings and the glamour side of it. And I think you could, as you saw in that clip, he's a uncompromising figure. He'll try and instill his football beliefs. And that's what United need. They need to have an identity, and they need to get away from this sort of Hollywood collection of individuals and this idea that they're just going to fix their problems through a couple of star signings. That's what's got them the job. That's what they need.
I mean, it's safe to say this is going to be a long project, you'd think. I mean, traditionally, since Sir Alex Ferguson, managers have come and gone within 2 or 3 years. Is there a feeling he's going to get more time?
I suspect he will. I mean, this is the first appointment that, John Murtagh as technical director has really taken ownership of. The others were Ed Woodward appointments. Ed's gone now. Richard Arnold is a different type of chief executive from what I've seen, a guy that wants to get less involved in the actual football and delegate that. So I think he does start with Murtagh and Darren Fletcher in his corner and a desire to start again. And that should buy him that little bit more time. But like all of them, Manchester United's got a habit of just creeping up on people, and it becoming, things becoming crises very quickly. And there'll be rocky times. If they're going to stick with him, there's going to be rocky times in that first year or whatever. But a club at rock bottom has to try and stick with this guy.
What's the priorities?
I'd say midfield. In my time of reporting on United, they've never been worse in terms of talent in that area, and that's been a problem since Paul Scholes and Michael Carrick went. They've got certain types of midfielders, but Ten Hag's a possession-orientated, attacking coach who wants to play that sort of controlled football, and they don't have anyone that controls the game in there. So I think he needs to sign a couple of midfielders. Frankie de Jong would be perfect. Whether they can get him out of Barcelona is another matter, but you've got options like Yuri Tielemans. And then he needs to look at the defence again. Again, we're talking about signing defenders for United, but that's what Ralph Rangnick identified yesterday. We can't defend around the box. They've conceded 50 goals this season in the Premier League, which is unheard of, I think. The fullbacks, defenders, midfielders, but you could go through it. There might be, as Rangnick says, 10 players that need changed, but I'd start in midfield.